The expectations were incredibly high. The project took more than 6 years to complete. I think the views has been actually extraordinary because on the one side, of course, we've got Burj-el-Arab. In the suite that you were in, you had that. But on the other side, actually, we've got downtown with Burj Khalifa.
Burj-el-Arab view, higher demand?
Higher demand for sure because it's arguably the most famous hotel and iconic hotel.
Buggy service. Why does Marsa have separate buggies?
Well,
I was surprised.
You're excited to what you're going to do today. You're curious that, I'm going to go and try a different experience, whether in Marsa or go out and experience something in Dubai.
Future where in a 5-star luxury hotels, everything will be done for you. Probably they'll undress you before night and dress you back.
I'm so flattered by it because every time I come to Russia and when I'm in Moscow now, like I am this week, I love being here.
Дорогие друзья, с вами Артур Мурадян. Приветствую вас на подкасте «Космические путешествия». Сегодня мы начинаем осенний цикл и будем говорить про те направления, которые интересны. Ну и, конечно, занимаясь Арабскими Эмиратами всю свою сознательную жизнь, я не могу не проговорить про новинку 24-25 года, которую мы много ждали, слышали, в которой я уже пожил, но об этом чуть позже. И мы будем говорить об отеле Марса Al Arab. И у нас в гостях Мэттью Роулетт. Он у нас Executive Director Sales and Marketing. Мэттью, nice to meet you in Russia. How do you feel?
I feel terrific, Artur. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to be back in Moscow.
So you probably understood a lot of things I said, but I said Marsa Al Arab was a long time anticipated hotel and expectations were pretty high. So how do you feel? Did the hotel manage to match them?
You're right. The expectations were incredibly high. The project took more than 6 years to complete. And now we're celebrating more than 6 months of being open, and we couldn't be happier. The feedback is incredible.
6 years. Is this flow of construction, or things were changing constantly, or the plan was so significant to create a masterpiece that it took longer than expected?
I think kind of all of those actually, because the project itself, when it was first conceived, was to complete the nautical trilogy. So we've got, of course, next to us our founding hotel for Jumeirah Beach Hotel as the wave, Burj-el-Arab as the sail, and Marsa Al Arab as the super yacht. So the project was always going to take time, but then in amongst the project being developed, we had COVID.
So COVID had some influence.
Had a bit of influence, but actually a lot of it was even down to us because there was things that were going on that we were looking at that we thought we could do better.
Tell me honestly, how long it took to play with the room, the showroom that was used as an example, for example. I know it existed. How long did you guys come, look at it, change things up?
Do you know what? A lot of work happened, and I actually started in Marsa more than 3 years ago. So officially, I was the very first person to come on board for Jumeirah for Marsa Al Arab. But actually, the showroom itself was actually originally built off-site. And then when it came to Marsa on-site, it was just shortly around the time I was joining. So
but still, it was a long time.
It was a very long time, and there was changes that came to that showroom, and that also was part of the reason why I say we looked at things and wanted to improve. You know, so we've got gorgeous views onto Burj-el-Arab, for example. We
yes, thank you. I stayed in one of the suites, and the view from the room was exceptional. Do you think that guests will appreciate the view as the time passes by? Because I mean, I stayed there once, but honestly, I think I can look at it again. But what's their feedback about the rooms?
The feedback on the rooms has been amazing. I think the views has been actually extraordinary because on the one side, of course, we've got Burj-el-Arab. In the suite that you were in, you had that. But on the other side, actually, we've got downtown with Burj Khalifa. So depending on the guest, you could actually...
I didn't stay in that rooms, but...
with the panoramic terraces. Yeah. So you've got on the one side kind of the view onto Burj Khalifa. So in the morning time, for example, the sun rises from that side, which is an incredible way to sort of wake up, and it's a very different view. And then, of course, as the day passes, you've then got the sun setting between sort of, Burj-el-Arab and the palms. So it is really incredibly impressive. And the guests who are coming and are coming back continuously have preferences on their views. And Jumeirah Burj-el-Arab tends to be where people would.
But speaking honestly, Burj-el-Arab view, higher demand?
Higher demand for sure, because it's arguably the most famous hotel and iconic hotel in the world.
Yes.
I can see why.
So how did you as a sales director felt that you would have to compete with other properties? with Jumeirah has been like keeping as top sellers in the Middle East.
So when we looked at Jumeirah Marsa Al Arab and we look at the Jumeirah properties that are along the beach, including of course Jumeirah Beach and Jumeirah Burj-el-Arab, but of course Madinat Jumeirah.
Madinat itself, yeah.
What we wanted to make sure that we didn't do was to create something which was replicating what was already there.
Yes, that's a thing. I mean, do not create competition within your own project.
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. And I think hence, when we talk about how long it took the project to complete, a lot of that was given consideration because, again, we want this to be different for Jumeirah. We wanted to help in what we say express where Jumeirah wants to go and is going as a brand moving forward, right? So how we've designed, the rooms and suites, the public areas, the arrival experience, even when you go up into the spa and you've got a remedy suite, which has a cryo suite, it's got an oxygen hyperbaric oxygen chamber. You've got these experiences that are very unique to Marsa Al Arab and actually in many cases unique to Dubai and the UAE. So I think it was important that we didn't conflict and compete with our hotels on the beach, but also at the same point, it was a nice opportunity for us to add to things that we already have. So guests who maybe are staying in Al Naseem have additional benefit of, for example, new restaurants that they can enjoy when they go back to Al Naseem, right? So they can come to Marsa and they can continue to stay in Jumeirah Al Naseem.
Being a guest, I mean, during my last visit, I stayed in different parts of the Madinat itself and then Al Naseem. I felt very different in terms of the perception of being a guest. Naseem is quite understandable, or I would say Madinat itself, like you understand. In Al Marsa, it felt like things are different. How do you describe that vibe?
The vibe for us, what we wanted to do is it's quiet, sophisticated luxury. So you feel that the moment you come in. And when I say you come in, it's not even before you arrive into the physical hotel. It's as you come up that beautiful driveway. You've got a lot of trees. In fact, actually, including trees, plants, greenery and shrubs. There's more than 260,000 planted greenery around the resort of Marsa Al Arab. But what that does is it feels like you're almost coming into this private sanctuary. You turn the corner as you pass the beautiful residences of Marsa Al Arab on your right, and then you've got a sneak peek of Jumeirah Beach Hotel and, of course, Jumeirah Burj-el-Arab. So that feeling draws you in. It feels very powerful. It feels very emotive. And we have, a design that is there by intent. And what I mean by that is everything has been considered with the guest in mind. So whilst it's, beautiful from an architectural perspective and a setting point of view, what it's also there for is for guest, enjoyment. So you feel that when you walk in.
The reception area feels different compared to other hotels. The reception process itself is different. So tell me, why did you choose this personified experience? Like in the time of AIs and stuff that people are going high tech, I saw a completely different approach.
Yeah, and a great question, because I think the reality is the world is changing. We can see that, our guests and their expectations is also changing. So again, coming back to how we designed Marsa, we wanted to sort of allow them to feel where they are. So one of the unique things of Marsa Al Arab, which is quite unique for most hotels when you're facing on water, we've actually had like a super yacht going out to water. So you actually enter as if you're almost on a yacht. So as you first come in, you've got these beautiful pieces that have been created specifically for Jumeirah Marsa Al Arab. So you've got this gorgeous...
A lot of gold used, yeah.
We've got, I would say in certain areas, but actually interestingly, the orange which people pick out is actually there to reflect the golden hour of sunset. So again, as you're kind of coming through Marsa, depending if it's morning or late afternoon or the evening, you'll see those different shades of that sort of powerful orange that, is synonymous with Dubai and that sort of, golden hour sunset. But when you first walk in, you've got very much beautiful intimacy. You've got this gorgeous chandelier, which actually most people think is a chandelier, but it's actually a sculpture.
So it's not a light.
It's not even it's not even a light. So when you look up, you feel like it's light, but actually what it is it's basically a sail that has been taken from a yacht that almost is, I can say it's like it's freeze framed. So it's billowing in the wind and then it's been suspended from the ceiling. You've got these two gorgeous walls which are actually created through 3D ceramic and individually cut pieces, 500 in total, that reflect on both walls. And the color and because of the uniqueness of each piece, it's there to reflect the color and the depth of the ocean. So you feel this real connection to sense of place. And then as you move through into where you would check in the reception area, you've got now that homage to, the desert and the beautiful sort of Arabic culture. Even, as you move down after checking, you've got these gorgeous lobby lounges, which are majlises, which are a place where you can have teas and coffees and engage.
Pretty busy at times.
It's because everyone wants to be in Marsa. But what we've actually tried to do to help that is actually create intimacy in those spaces. So they're not very big. And what we find is the guests that are coming in want to have conversations in places that they can actually talk to one another.
Serious business.
Exactly, and not be around hundreds and thousands of people. And for a guest who's staying in Marsa, the other important thing is actually we've instilled so many areas that are there for them first. And what I mean by that, if you're staying in Marsa Al Arab and you want to have a table in the lobby lounge, there'll always will be a table for you in the lobby lounge. So regardless of how busy.
This is an advantage for the in-house guests.
100%. We want to make sure we look after them. Marsa has been designed. We've, created the service, experience around the guests that are staying in Marsa Al Arab, not just about the people that are coming in, maybe to experience certain elements, but not actually stay.
How do you think the guests felt? So there was no grand opening. And we have other hotels who made a huge show out of grand opening, and we know what we're talking about, Royal Atlantis. But we spoke with you, I think, in May, yeah? Any plans on, restating the position of Al Marsa as a new property, the star of the Dubai?
So we looked initially to do an opening, an event to celebrate Marsa's opening.
I don't really see a huge point to be a fan. To be honest, I mean, not a fan, but it was fun. Probably boosted sales, but in general, I think Jumeirah hotels don't really need extra commercial stuff. The brand has been there, and especially talking about the CIS market.
Yeah,
I think we're one of the leaders of the sales.
And there's huge support from this region. The Russia CIS market has always been, particularly recently,
very loyal guests.
Great loyalty with Jumeirah, which is incredibly appreciated, and almost, it just makes me incredibly happy to see that. And the opening event for Marsa, because we actually opened in Ramadan, it wasn't appropriate to do an event around that time. So we paused it, knowing that actually what we really want to do for Marsa, again, coming back to that feeling of what you get, is about quiet, understated luxury. It's for people who are seeking the finer things in life. So to do a big, grand, lavish opening party,
you should close the hotel for a period, then get the guests out, kick the guests out, which is impossible if your sales are doing fine. This is the question people wanted to ask.
Yeah, it's a great question.
I had to ask.
No, and thank you for asking. Yes,
I would ask one thing. Restaurants. I was amazed by the restaurants in the, honestly speaking, the Italian, the steakhouse, Culian, I still remember.
Well done.
Were unbelievable. So how did the hotel choose the partners to work with to give this experience to guests?
Yeah, again,
did you get involved, try the food?
At that point, actually, because again, you think the journey of Marsa, 6 years, a lot of those decisions in terms of partners to bring in were decided at that point. And actually, between the residences, where we've got Commodore Club, which is a great place for families, beautiful setting onto the super yacht Marina, as well as the other restaurants in Marsa, we've got a total of 11 restaurants and 4 bars. Now, 2 of the restaurants and 1 of the bars is actually under partnership. So the Cullinan you mentioned is a third-party operated restaurant. But within the hotel, we've got 8 restaurants that we operate. And what we wanted to do was to complement what currently was within Jumeirah. And, we touched on, why, Marsa sort of adds rather than competes. Adding restaurants that aren't currently there, whether it's the experience, it's the cuisine, it's the setting, also benefits the guests that we have staying in our existing hotels, right?
I've had a lunch at the Italian restaurant. I was amazed. My kids were amazed because the waiters, the staff, they were actually Italian, which is a fun thing. They understand the passion for food. The portions were big. And I'm not saying big, but they were sufficient. And the food was exceptional. Do you think this adds volume to the clients, that they can experience a lot of different cuisines in one place.
100%. And each of the restaurants in Marsa is there to feel like it's an individual
Tell me
restaurant.
about all 11 of them.
I'd love to. So you've
please,
described Rialto perfectly. It's
Rialto,
you know, the setting is stunning. It's named after one of the 4 original bridges in Venice called Rialto Bridge. Everything within Marsa as well, in addition to Rialto, also have private outdoor terraces. So as you think, as the weather starts to now really come into its own in Dubai, people want to be outside, you've got terraces that are connected to each restaurant. So in addition to Rialto...
Okay, you get the experience. I mean, I didn't have May, it was a bit hot.
Yeah. And you'll see it now. The terraces, in fact, in the next couple of weeks will be ready to reopen in Marsa Al Arab, including a few new places, particularly
I'm
one.
coming next week, so they're going to take a look how it looks. Maybe take some pictures. We're going to add that guys to the podcast, so you'll see it.
You have to.
Okay.
I'm incredibly excited.
Italian one.
So we've got the Italian. We've also got Iliana, which is on the beach.
Yeah, Greek, I think, yeah.
And that's Greek. And
actually, I tried it. I lied. I tried it.
You did? Okay.
Yes, I did. Yes.
Fantastic.
At the poolside.
So what you're going to need to do is, because we've got 2 elements to Iliana that you know. One was the restaurant, which has this gorgeous terrace, beautiful views onto Burj-el-Arab. In the next probably month, we're going to open up the rooftop, which we haven't opened before.
Okay. Yep.
So this will be great for people who are staying in Marsa, who are coming maybe off the beach. Could be families, could be couples. You go and you can watch sunset. There'll be beautiful entertainment, food.
Yeah, the view from that restaurant would be unbelievable. Because it's in the center, like looking at the beach, looking at the Burj-el-Arab. So Greek, very popular.
So you've got Greek. We've got Kinagawa, which is Japanese, but with Parisian flair that is on the beach. So actually that opened last week.
I didn't see it.
You'll have to come back and try it.
It's
fantastic. So that is on the beach and open now. And then within the hotel itself, we've got Umike, which is an izakaya restaurant. So inspired through an izakaya experience from Japan. Fantastic robata grill, just a gorgeous experience that's sort of set as you would experience in Japan. You then move on to Madame Lee, which is sort of a homage to, Pan-Asian flavors, so great dim sum. You then move around and overlooking the super yacht Marina, you've got Mirabelle, which is beautiful, inspired sort of south of France, Mediterranean cuisine. If you love seafood, and Mirabelle, oysters, just again, everything that's there, prawns, it's just in abundance and just delightful, and stunning views. You've got some of the best terraces as well.
We're going to talk about the Marina later.
Yeah,
so
we'll come back.
Keep that in mind. Yeah.
Excellent. And then the final is actually the Bombay Club. So this is sort of what we say is, this is a really exceptional place, and actually with the terrace opening up will really sort of add to it. But an incredible chef. It's a partnership with chef Manav Tuli, who is a decorated Michelin star chef, but consulting with the Bombay Club.
Any expectations to have that Michelin star? I know it takes time, but
I think there is ambition for Michelin and for Gomeo as well to feature in Marsa for sure. And the feedback we're getting from the guests is that we would expect to see some of those restaurants that I've just discussed in Michelin.
When I was there in May, I saw the restaurants in the evening were full. Guests or mix of outside guests?
It's a really good question, and it's kind of a balance of both, which I think actually gives you a nice opportunity as a guest who's staying in Marsa, right? You feel like you're not.
I mean, I hate, to be honest, I hate hotels when there's like lonely restaurants inside and nobody eats in them.
And it's the people that you see in the morning because you've seen them around the pool.
And you probably think, probably they have a half board and they have no options. So
actually, the really good point you've just raised. So you get a really good balance in the restaurants between people that are in Marsa and also that people who want to be in Marsa. Marsa right now is without doubt one of the hottest and most, celebrated openings on the planet. So you see that, interest when people want to dine from Dubai. The other piece we don't actually do in Marsa Al Arab is we don't have any half-board options. So when you look around at the guests who are there from the hotel, they're not there because they have to be there because they have a half-board inclusion. They're there because they want to be there. And what we're also seeing is that because we've added the buggy pass between Marsa Al Arab and all of our Jumeirah hotels on the beach, you also have a chance now to welcome some of the guests in the other hotels who want to come in and try something different before they go back to where they're staying within Jumeirah.
We talked about the guest experience from the other properties. Let's talk about the experience guests of Marsa get via going to other properties or, for example, water park. For me, the huge advantage was it's pretty close, especially if you're living with. I mean, if you're staying at Dar el-Masaf at the farthest away villa, you need a buggy. I mean, you can walk, but you need a buggy.
Yeah.
But Marsa guests, families, they choose Marsa, or it's too fancy for kids?
No, and actually a really good question, but it's very much all about kids and families. And I think that's the beautiful thing about Marsa is that we have, if I mentioned design by intent, we've designed Marsa to welcome families, and this starts in many ways. It's how they arrive when they check in, and that experience the kids will feel. It's when they go up, and actually things like rooms and suites, like one of the elements.
About the welcoming kids, the sets you've placed in the rooms, they were amazing. My daughter is still wearing the Panama hat.
Yes, yeah, okay.
How did you come up with this? Because I didn't see that much of amenities given to kids. Do you want the kids to remember the experience?
Yeah, it's a fine balance between getting things that they can enjoy while they're in Marsa and hopefully want to take home. So you mentioned the hats. Also, we do these cool Marsa
Coloring
puzzles for
books,
some of the
puzzles. Yes.
But also, we also really instill a lot in the kids' experience. So if I use Jumeirah Circle, which is our kids club, the programming that they get to enjoy as kids down there is incredible, right? Because it's not just going to a room where you're put in front of a TV or an Xbox. Actually, you've got things that are about connection and really understanding where you are. So what happens is actually kids, when they are being told by their parents, you got to come, we're going for dinner or we're going out. We see a lot of kids very disappointed when they leave the kids club because they don't want to. So, we've got great, options for them there. We've designed the pools to allow the families to have a resort pool that is perfect for them. Equally for maybe families who had their kids in Jumeirah Circle, our kids club, they can use the adult pool, and even for our suite guests, so families who are staying in the suites, kids can use Iliana Pool Club, which is
I was actually surprised because usually hotels, when they have this privilege pools for certain room types, it's like 18 and above, and like kids, sorry, you're like go use the other pool, the cheaper one. But was there a risk that some guests would say like too noisy or
no? And I think the reason for that is because none of the pools are open to anyone outside of Marsa Al Arab. So I mentioned that we've designed Marsa, right, for the guests of Marsa.
I didn't know, because in Burj-el-Arab you can get guests from. I mean, actually, in my experience, half of the guests were outside. Yeah,
in Marsa, they're guests of Marsa. So using Iliana Pool Club as an example, we call it Pool Club rather than Beach Club because it's there just for the guests, actually, in this case, of our suites. So, if you think about it as a family, and there's a couple of things I'll kind of allude to right now, but you've got this private pool that's there for you as a suite guest. If you've got kids, you're more than welcome to bring them down. Because of how it's been designed, it's beautiful and it's tranquil because the setting has cabanas and private sun lounges. So you never feel like you're next to someone who's right there, right? So if you've got kids, you might be next to a couple, but it's not very busy, right? In that respect, because it's how it's been designed.
And I think the occupancy when I was there was pretty high.
Yeah, and it is, and it has been since we opened.
And it still looked like nobody was there. I mean, not nobody, but you didn't feel interfere, or at least nobody complained about kids swimming. I enjoyed one thing at the Iliana pool is when you swim to the edge.
Right to the edge. Yeah. And it looks like you can swim to Burj-el-Arab.
Yes. The lining of the pool is in line with the sea level. Yeah. And you just stay there and like, oh my God, I want to eat the view with my eyes.
Yeah. It's absolutely beautiful. And actually, interestingly, that ledge that you've just mentioned, we saw it when it was being constructed. And I mentioned about how long the project has taken. We looked at it and we thought we could make that better. So actually what you've just mentioned, we made better. And it sounds like actually as a result of it, you're now enjoying it even more than you probably would have if we had just left the original version of it there.
It would have been higher probably, yeah?
It probably wouldn't have felt like it blended quite with the sea, yeah.
Because view is something, I mean, I always say that as tour operators or tour companies and hotels, and we don't sell accommodation, don't sell tickets, we sell the feeling of a new, refreshed experience, basically. Talking about the pools, I mean, pools are not that deep in the main pool. I have a mixed feeling about this. It happens in all the new hotels. Tell me as a hotelier, why the standard went from 1.4, 0.5 meters to almost 1.20 meters or something like that?
I think what happened...
Safety just...
I think there's a bit of safety, and I'm going to say I don't 100% know within the UAE. I think when I came into the UAE, there was
sure.
Some change in regulation at that point, which subsequently was rolled back. But I think if you look at the pools in Marsa, we now have an average depth in the deepest areas of about 1.4 meters.
So in Iliana it's fine.
Yeah.
The kids pool was actually pretty nice. It's stained. The shade is there.
Yeah,
which is important. Beach. Your colleagues gonna hate me now.
Okay, please.
In Jumeirah group.
But we love our colleagues and we love our Jumeirah hotels.
But you have the best beach. Not just because we're sitting here talking. Honestly, I would say like your beach is protected from the waves. It's a laguna style, and the depth is. It's not like it's not deep from 3 meters and then it goes down. How did you manage to do that? Was it? I'm sure it's not a natural depth because there was no beach there.
So you mentioned the lagoon and you've got that breakwater that's been built out. So the engineering and the technical specifications of how the beach were created was incredibly detailed. Engineers.
I cannot even imagine.
It was incredible. But I think the reality was, if you think about it, actually where Marsa is located, and including the beach, was actually the sea. Right, so we're built on the sea, so everything was reclaimed.
People talk about Burj-el-Arab being built on island. I'm like, Mars is also built on, I would say semi-island, but it's still artificial island.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the beach, as a result of it, allowed us through engineering, and there was some incredible people that were involved in, Jumeirah Marsa Al Arab from a very, very early stage to sort of make sure that the beach was created in a way that, was enjoyable. It also extended so that, for example, again, maybe you want to walk from Dar Masyaf and you want to walk all the way down.
All the way to the beach, yeah.
You can.
Yes,
It kind of continues that journey, because I think what we want to do for the guests that are coming from the Russia CIS region is add to their experience. We want them to continue to stay in the Jumeirah hotels, but also have another new experience that they can enjoy when they come.
Russians are now into, running, marathons. I think it's it's a funny trend that people, you look at them 10 years ago, they were wasted, drinking, living the most unhealthy lifestyle. Now they all run, look at themselves.
Yeah.
Jumeirah in general and Madinat itself has a huge advantage compared to many UAE hotels. And I'm talking about like 95, I think, of them percent. Huge beach line. Do you think it's one of the strong selling points for Russian market? I mean, you just said that, but honestly, yes or no? Because I really haven't seen a lot of people like just walking 2 kilometers from Russia.
Yeah, and you probably don't unless you come down, particularly because when you've been in, it's obviously quite warm. So you probably won't see it. I think now as we move into the winter months in Dubai, you'll probably see a bit more of it, especially early in the morning. You see people that are kind of walking down, and sometimes you see them, they walk all the way down to Marsa, and then you see them turn around.
And then walk back.
And it's the most peaceful, relaxing thing you can see, because the sun is kind of coming up behind them, right, next to Burj Khalifa. Yeah. They're walking past Jumeirah Burj-el Arab and our beautiful resorts on the beach. It's just something that's so relaxing, so it draws you in. It's just amazing. So I think we'll see a bit more of that as we move into the winter months.
So talking about the outside surroundings, buggy service, why does Marsa have separate buggies?
Well,
I was surprised. I mean, I know, but I mean, like, okay, Burj-el-Arab, fine. They drive on the beach and they give, but Marsa separate buggies?
Really what it comes down to for Marsa, and this is literally coming back to what we discussed, it's about the guest experience, right? Having the buggies that are there. So when you first walk out of the hotel and you're there and you could go out to the pools or Iliana, that's where you would collect your buggy if you were going to Kanagawa or actually going down to one of our other hotels. What we found is that guests expect that when they walk out, there's a buggy waiting. So I think there's a part of it. It wasn't anything to do with, the buggy system that we've got in place, but we had to really say, look, what do the guests need and what can we do about that? And that was part of the reason why we created
buggy experience actually is something like, it's not significant in terms of like overall experience, but if it's not working, it spoils like 80% of
so
the
frustrating, 100%.
Yes,
yeah,
because
I agree.
People are like, okay, we're staying in the 5-star and we have to wait in line, like so. And I've seen a huge improvement in general in Jumeirah hotels with the buggies for the past 2 years, I think.
Oh, that's great. There's a lot of effort that goes into how they manage it, they program it.
The waiting time is like...
Yeah, but you're right. But if you have to wait, or even if you get a driver who isn't, engaging, know where they're going, because it's you think about it, it's a 2.5 kilometer stretch of beach.
Yeah, it's actually pretty
but
long.
The number
drive.
of routes that you can take is a long time, right? Or is quite varied. So you need to also know that as well. So there's a huge amount of effort that has gone into it from Jumeirah, and even from Marsa. Like, I've had some amazing conversations with some of our buggy drivers. It's terrific, and I look at that and
guys are always positive, engaging,
smiling,
I
happy.
cannot imagine how difficult it is, like driving half day or all day. I'm not sure about the shift, and always trying to engage and not just engage, but talk the guests, talk with them, let them feel relaxed. How many people serve the needs of guests of Al Marsa?
So Marsa Al Arab, if I look at the hotel and I look at the residences, we will have in the winter months more than 1,400 colleagues across Marsa Al Arab, and it's a big number, but what the number means is that we can really dedicate to delivering what everyone says is personalized service. But what that means is that we can predict and we can almost be there knowing what you're going to ask for as a guest, and that comes down to.
So do you again, I know you have butlers. What's your view on their future?
I think butlers are fantastic, because actually the word probably in most people's mind is someone who presses your clothes and is waiting for you to tell them what to do. But actually the service, particularly when I look at Marsa, is actually so much more evolved than that, right? This is a person that is connected to you if you're staying in one of our suites. So for example, we've got 86 suites in Marsa Al Arab, of which 15 of those are our top suites. In one of those 15 top suites, you've got a personal butler that's with you the entire duration. And this individual isn't there just to, iron clothes and do all that. They're there to make you feel like anything you can need can be done through them. And this is incredible because it combines.
Any cases you can share without disclosing sensitive information? Because many Russians, when you're trying to sell them the butler experience, usually, and I regret to say that, it's just hello, hi, certain questions asked, answered, maybe, but what they can expect and what the life cases can you share?
So what I look at with the butlers in Marsa is they're there as a butler, as a concierge, and almost as like a private connection to the family or guest. So this is things where they anticipate the guest and what they might need. So maybe perhaps they've got a spa treatment at a certain time. Maybe they want to go for dinner. So organizing the dinner so it's not, rushing back from the spa to go to dinner. I mean, that's a simple thing. Yeah, but as a guest, what we see in Marsa is our guests just want us to do it for them. They don't want to have to think necessarily or waste time more so, going, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? And as we start to really understand the guests when they come in, right, bearing in mind that we're in contact with them before they even arrive. So a lot of preferences and some of the basics we already have. And we do that because it helps, the guests when they come here, allows them to have a better experience with our butler team. So coming back to the point of our butlers, something that are a thing of the past, I actually don't. I don't think they are. I've come from, working in other cities. London is an example where you think of a butler as a very traditional, formal person, which, we've all seen. Sometimes it works well, so other times it doesn't. In Marsa, the feedback has been extraordinary because the engagement that's there with the entire, in some cases, families that come through is fantastic. The butlers connect with the kids sometimes. They know the main traveling guests so well that actually they just make things easier. You mentioned buggy service. Part of the reason for how those buggies work so well is that you've got a team in our butler and guest relations departments that are there preempting everything so that when a guest comes down, they don't have to wait.
Okay.
So I think everyone really gets that experience, and to those that are in our suites, they get that elevation of having a personalized butler.
During check-in, I was asked, do I need assistance of unpacking? And then when time has come, packing clothes. I'm still probably old school. I'm like, nah, I'm not. I'll do it myself. But in your experience as a hotelier, are we moving to the future where in the 5-star luxury hotels, everything will be done for you? Probably they'll undress you before night and dress you back. Do you feel that?
I think, and it's funny because all these things are interconnected. They might become separate topics, but they're also connected. And the one thing that connects all the topics that we've been discussing today when it comes to guest experience, guests are short on time, right? And if they have time, they want to invest that time into something that's going to enrich them. They don't want to have to do things that potentially somebody else can do for them. And there's a really, famous thing where if you asked Albert Einstein what his telephone number was, he never knew it. One of the smartest people to ever live didn't know his own telephone number. And the reason for that was he said, why would I know my own telephone number when I can go to a phone book? Now, in the case of a guest who comes into Jumeirah Marsa Al Arab, we're there to almost be that for them so that their time is focused on what really matters to them. And the things that they don't have to do, we will go ahead and do that for them, right? And we've got some great examples of things that, again, we had a guest who was getting ready for dinner and, actually had an issue with a dress. The dress was ripped in packing when they came over to Dubai. So they changed and they left the dress sort of thrown out. And what happened was we went in there, noticed that the dress was ripped. We fixed it for the guest.
Okay.
We also pressed it so that it wasn't all wrinkled, as it sometimes can be, when it comes out of a suitcase. And we laid it on the bed with a little note to say, we noticed that you were having a little bit of problems. We've helped to fix it for you.
Okay.
So I think, that has real meaning to guests. And then you mentioned about 10 years ago, it used to be about everyone consuming everything. It was life, it was alcohol, it was everything. And now people are a bit more mindful about, healthiness and well-being.
Their lifestyle, basically.
Their lifestyle.
They're looking after themselves.
Looking after themselves. And we support that through Marsa, whether that's in the spa where we've got, a remedy suite that has, again, an oxygen hyperbaric, chamber that is great for recovery, a cryo suite that's there as well. And the reason why these things are there is because it helps guests who are focused on their health and well-being to be able to focus on themselves, but be able to perform at that level that they're at right now, right? So, you consume things that are good for you, right? So everything that we want our guests to consume, whether that's, through experience or whether that's through just enjoyment by interacting with the team, is all about enriching their overall experience and their well-being. So I think, will we do everything for the guests? Look, if a guest asks us to help them with everything, can we do it? Of course we can. That's what we're there for. Is that where we're ultimately going to get to? I don't know. I don't think so yet.
I have a feeling that, I have this example. 100 years ago, owning a car was a pure luxury. You just, horse, everyone had it. Like you used it like we use taxi today, or things changed. So, and in the modern era, we see people like AI, technology, all the buttons you can press, the smart rooms. I think like in 10 years' time, the most expensive hotel will have zero internet coverage and will have nothing to do with the technology. So basically, to call a service, you would ring a bell. We'll shift back because this will be the pure luxury of experiencing a human contact. And and you probably see it rising like in some of the hotels, and I did see in Marsa. So healthy lifestyle. Breakfast is a huge, important part of the stay in the hotel. And you've chose to have a breakfast in many of the restaurants you have. How does it work? I mean, I don't really understand how in the morning they all open up itself. I mean, it's describe it yourself. I mean, people probably are wondering what the hell I'm talking about.
Well, I think you're going to have to share some photos when you're next in so that they can understand it, because it is one of the most extraordinary breakfast services anywhere in the world, and that's the feedback coming from the guests, not my personal opinion. But the restaurants that I mentioned with the
earlier that work as a lunch, dinner, popular from outside, in-house guests, in the morning, you have a breakfast there.
And there's a breakfast that's for the guests who are staying in the hotel, but actually the spaces are opened up so that they feel like they're one. We'll transform them in the afternoons and evenings physically, so you've got walls.
Challenging?
No, it's not, but the team work very hard to make sure that the transformations can be felt by the guests who come into the restaurants afterwards. But there is time that allows us to turn the restaurants around so that physically you can change it. It's not like, you just clear a table and put a new setting
exactly.
down.
That's what I'm talking. It's not just like, okay, let's just open the doors and people walk through different restaurants.
Yeah.
So experience of the breakfast.
So the experience of the breakfast.
Where does it start?
So where it starts is you first walk into what we call the four. So F-O-R-E, and it's an interesting word because most people think of it as the number 4, but it's spelled differently. But there's 4 restaurants, so it's clever in that way.
Okay.
And 4 means at the forefront of something. In this case, this is literally the forefront of Marsa Al Arab. It's on the tip.
Yep.
So you walk in, you're greeted by this fantastic group of individual hostesses that are there. There's a smile, there's warmth, there's engagement from the onset. You're then personally escorted to a table in one of the 4 restaurants. Bearing in mind now, as we go into winter, you've also got the terraces.
The terrace, yes. I went outside like, okay, it's going to be blessed. Because again of the view.
And you've got great views on both sides. So you tend to see that guests could actually have a very different breakfast experience.
Both views, yeah.
Exactly, depending on where they're sat. And the terraces are very intimate as well. So again, families might choose a certain area because it's quite intimate. But what you get then once you're sat down is you're welcome to what you can actually experience within breakfast. So when I was talking to you about the 4 restaurants, in addition to the physical location of breakfast, actually each of those restaurants actually adds a component to breakfast.
Yeah, they provide their own meals, like the dishes from the signature or breakfast dishes. Which one of them do you personally like?
So I mentioned Mirabelle is a place where if you love seafood, actually walk in there, you've got fresh oysters, you've got seafood platters that are
That's
there
actually
in the
the
morning.
first restaurant in my experience as in terms of had fresh oysters and not just, the few sad ones left from the evening, but the whole selection. Mirabelle. What about the other ones?
So you've got Madame Lee. Some people prefer to have some dim sum, right? So we've got guests traveling from all over the world into Marsa Al Arab. So, having, choice and variety. So again, Madame Lee will have an introduction, in this case, a dim sum counter that's set up. If you go into Umike, so our izakaya restaurant, you've got the Rabata grill doing beautiful wagyu
small ones.
rotisseries on skewers.
Teriyakis, I think they're called.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. Excellent. And you've also got, fresh sushi. Again, people are now eating healthier. And then there's this really, really cool place that connects all 4 restaurants, and it's called basically in the evening, it's the 4 bar, but it's the hub that allows you to walk through. And what you have there is beautiful fresh fruits that are individually pieced and cut.
So this area where the fruits and juices are displayed is a bar in the evening.
It's the bar in the evening, so you can come in there. And it's super cool because you've got this amazing terrace outside that, you can sit out there, enjoy a drink before you move into one of the restaurants.
So every day it's rearranged from the bar to breakfast, healthy style, like fruit and juice buffet.
100%. And it is just, it's one of the most extraordinary experiences.
I know
as a guest you can enjoy.
I mean, you have to pay so juices. I've actually tried the Indian cuisine there.
Yes, and there's the Bombay Club.
But I forgot what it's called. This big round thingy.
You've got a lot of different choices that are there, and again, we offer choices for Indian breakfast.
Food was there.
And Middle East, exactly. Yeah. So you've got hummus and dips and things that are traditional to an Arabic breakfast. So, and what's nice about the whole thing as well is that they're there to be selected in case you want to try something. So our guests who maybe already know what they want, they can walk around and just maybe see if there's something else they feel inspired to try. But separately, you also have an amazing a la carte menu that if you go,
that's what I wanted to bring.
An amazing.
No more queues, guys, for the eggs.
I don't want to queue for the eggs. I don't want to do a buffet because this isn't a buffet. You can actually, again, order some amazing fresh juices. You can order, whether it's hot dishes like, we do this amazing dish which, is kind of smoked salmon, poached eggs, so like an eggs Benedict, or you've got ones where you've got little almost bellinis with caviar, and they're phenomenal with a nice poached egg. So
yes, the first thing I saw were the pictures of the people eating the caviar. People like, oh my god, caviar! And it's amazing. In Russia, we caviar here is like 10 times cheaper than anywhere in the world.
Yes,
but we go outside. We want to try caviar. I did actually enjoy the experience of that a la carte menu. Did not just have 3-4 dishes. It was actually a pretty big selection, and you can combine things like I had hash brownies with my eggs and sausages, and kids would have sausages. So in general, people don't get bored with the same breakfast, right?
They don't, and actually, I think
How many days it will take you to try all of the counters at least?
Well, I would say, right, and I use this because if you wanted to have a different experience and try different food, what you could do is you could come down and every day sit in a different location.
Oh, God.
Right? So you've got 4 restaurants, so there's 4 spaces. You've got 4 outdoor spaces as well. So you've got 8 different locations. Okay. You could easily, comfortably go for weeks on end. And actually some guests say to me, I look forward to breakfast every time. Into the point where they go, I might not actually have lunch because I love breakfast so much. I'm there for just to enjoy it, and just I wake up, I go down, I'm excited. So I actually don't think I've had anyone get bored, and we've had people stay with us for a very long time in Marsa, even though we've just opened. So there's plenty of choice and good experience.
In my experience, I don't know why. This is probably hotel magic. I don't eat breakfast here. I don't. I wake up, shower, work or walk the dog, shower, work, never breakfast. It needs 2-3 hours to feel hungry. I don't know. Hotels, God forbid me miss the breakfast. I don't know why, but say well, probably
I've got a theory on this actually, because like you actually, in the morning time I'm going to say force myself to have breakfast because my mind is racing ahead.
Either force or just skip.
Yeah, I know for me I need breakfast personally because it gives me the energy and the push. But the reason I have to force myself is my mind is racing ahead to what the day is going to bring. And I'm excited by that. I don't want to get going. I don't want to stop.
Okay, yes, probably, yes. I would. No, I never thought about it that way. But probably, yes, you're relaxing.
And you're relaxing. And I think
you have nowhere to run.
You've got nowhere to run. You wake up and actually you're hungry.
So
and
I
you
need
have
energy
time.
to relax.
Exactly. Or you also now, excitingly, because you're there with family or you're there with your other, your partner, for example, you're excited to what you're going to do today. You're curious that, I'm going to go and try a different experience, whether in Marsa or go out and experience something in Dubai. So you actually want to take a moment to pause and just enjoy. And I think that's the beautiful thing of what Marsa does, and which is why we see every guest coming down enjoying breakfast.
Yeah, I have a few suggestions for our viewers and listeners. I've been there with the kids. Go have early breakfast around 8:30. Then go upstairs, change, and go to Wild Wadi. By the 12th, you'll be done with half of the rides, and the sun will go up. Go back to Marsa, enjoy the pool or beach. In winter, beach. Summer, it was a bit hot.
Pool.
But talking about that experience, summer, usually a challenge for the hotels, especially in hot summer, like it was the last one. Amazingly, the temperatures were pretty high. How was experience? I know people came and stayed not just for 1-2 days, they stayed for weeks. Do they feel bothered with the temperature or no?
No, and I was wondering the same thing as we went into the summer. What would that experience really be, right? Because we had sort of, really worked hard to deliver the experience, but until you get into that summer heat in Dubai, you don't know. But coming back down to the reason why it worked so well and the guests loved it, and actually many guests were there, they would extend or they would even come back sometimes during the summer. So stay, go back home and then come back again, was a number of reasons. Number one, you've got all the restaurants that are open, nothing closed in Marsa, right? The only thing that we did close was the outside terraces for obvious reasons. But what you have now is the landscaping that's there. So actually you've got really beautiful areas that are not necessarily in direct sun. You've also got 3 pools that are on the outdoor of Marsa Al Arab, right, at the hotel. You've got this incredible spa that was, beautiful. You've got the indoor pool there. You've got the treatment suites. You've got a fitness center that if you're a fitness buff, you can continue to train, right?
So under the AC,
we actually invested a lot in that experience during the summer, which is why we were incredibly fortunate to be busy and why the feedback, more importantly, from our guests was extraordinary. So, I think there's plenty to do. And actually, like our other hotels on Jumeirah Beach, we include access into Wild Wadi. So what you've described of getting breakfast, going down to Wild Wadi.
That was pretty nice because the heat was not there. And summer was not an issue. Just wear the long sleeves.
With long sleeves, you go in there.
And I have the Wild Wadi.
Yeah, you go in there, you wear the rash vest, right? Or t-shirt. Go in there, enjoy it for 3 or 4 hours. It's still great. It's arguably, one of the most,
It's fun. I've been there. The first time I've been in Wild Wadi, I was 13.
Wow, and you still go now. You bring your kids.
Yes.
And do the kids love it when they go?
Yes, definitely they love it, and the experience of being an in-house guest of Jumeirah hotels. Is a huge advantage. You can be there first.
You feel special because you've got access.
Yes, you can, and you can be there first, in the morning, and all rides are open to you.
And it's there for you. It's like it's private.
Talking about the rooms, we spoke about the suites but guests not just stay in the suites.
No, not at all.
How do they feel about the rooms? I can show pictures and say this was fun, this was very fun. What about the rooms, the connecting rooms for families? Talk about them.
So I think what we want to do, and I mentioned about what we can do for guests, right? And not everyone wants us to do everything, but what we try and do is things that add value. So as an example, if you've got clients who are booking into Marsa Al Arab and they said, look, we need connecting rooms, right? And in Marsa, we've got a lot of outer connecting where you've got the door that closes.
In the between the...
Exactly. So it can become private. So
it's not the interconnecting rooms. It's just, it becomes a 2-bedroom or...
Exactly. You've got a private hallway that goes into 2 rooms. At the time of booking, if it's there, we'll guarantee it. right? So as a family, before you even arrive, you're not worried, do I have it, do I not, right?
That's a pretty, because usually hotels are like, yes.
We'll do our best.
Sorry,
right?
we're two different
Exactly, but you and I both, we've got
Yes,
kids. We
yes.
can't travel if we don't have that assurance.
Yes.
So we give that from the onset. The rooms, in terms of how they're designed, right? And from our entry level room, which I don't even think of it's an entry, you know, in some cases, most people look at as...
True.
But
we 5-star hotel guests don't like to the word standard or the entry level. Like, oh my God, no, please, we want super luxury and like, let's go to the way.
So. But what we try and do is, and the rooms themselves have been designed for families and for couples. So as an example, we, you know, if you want to have the gorgeous views onto Jumeirah Burj-el-Arab, you will stay in an ocean room, right? And you've got different standards of the ocean room that are there. If you're, you know, wanting to look at, you know, Burj Khalifa and the Marina, which is gorgeous now that we've got the big, gorgeous super yachts there again, you can stay on the Marina. And again, similar to Jumeirah Burj-el-Arab side, you then have the choice of moving up. The rooms and how they're designed, most of them have sofa beds. So for families, they've got that access
as an extra bed,
as an extra bed that's there, and a really good one, not a sofa bed.
My son slept on it, so and he's a pretty big guy.
And it was comfortable.
He slept like a child.
All the fun of Marsa, just put him to sleep.
Yes.
So we have that. We've also got, really interestingly, what we call an ocean family room. Now this can be also a 2-bedroom suite.
Yep.
But this is a really cool room because actually for families, and you'll get this perfectly. You've got the parents in the bed, you've got the sofa bed, and also you've got a Murphy bed. In addition, you've also got a second bathroom. So, you know, sometimes at night you're, you know, brushing teeth and getting ready.
Yes.
You've got now the second bedroom that's there. And really importantly, I mentioned, you know, about the butler service that comes with the suites. It doesn't mean the rooms don't get anything because we've got 300 of them. So you've got a dedicated team within our guest relations department. And these are phenomenal individuals that have surprised and delighted everyone. And in fact, we see so many positive comments coming from our guests who are in rooms because of their interaction and engagement with our guest relations team. So now you've got access to a guest relations department. Now, that could be that you message them. Right, so we've got the e-butler.
Many people don't like to call now.
Yeah, don't like to call.
We're in the era of like.
No, I want a message. I want to know it's done. So within you know a couple of minutes, if you send a message, if not quicker, you'll get an automatic reply. So you've got a team that are there looking after you in terms of what you need and what you might want to do. Right, so that's incredible. So for a family, you've got access to doing all of that, and then depending on what you really want to do and how you want to feel, you know, you've got great things to do around the resort. You've got a bar of fixed chocolate, which many people kind of know is
Dubai chocolate.
The original Dubai chocolate.
Yeah.
Which in Dubai, when it first came out, you had to go on to Deliveroo at 2:00.
Yeah.
Order it.
Yes.
And once it was gone, it was gone. So we introduced this into the mini bars across the entire hotel.
So it's in every mini bar.
In every single mini bar. In fact, actually, we were the first hotel in the world. The couple who created Fix, really interesting story. But we partnered with them to.
It has a very short life, you know this chocolate, because this is the original one.
It's the original one, so generally you have to keep it cooled. Yeah. So when I've traveled, sometimes people ask me to bring it, and I'm having to put it, you know, next to ice packs, pack it in a suitcase, check it in so it keeps cool. But the chocolate is amazing, and it just means, again, we think of guests who then don't have to go to a mall to buy the chocolate or queue maybe at the airport as they're going back home. So we put that in there. The other thing is, and you've seen it with your kids, right, is what we put into the rooms as amenities, right? We all know as parents, if the kids are happy, parents are happy. So what we try and do is anticipate what you need as a parent to make sure your kids are happy so that you can enjoy your holiday, and the kids also take away memories, because like you, when you were 13 years old going to Wild Wadi, and now you're bringing your kids, we see a lot of that happening across the
Kids are a huge part of... First of all, they're future customers.
Yes.
You have to look at them this way.
Yeah, 100%.
Future customers are, you grow them, you mold them, you shape them to have the expectations.
Yes.
So
and they've got high expectations.
Of course, especially if their parents can afford to stay in such lovely hotels.
100%,
kids will not want to go down.
No, they don't want to go down, but they're very, very honest with what's there. And I think before we opened, right, you asked about the guest experience. We had months of where we were training the team, and we were really simulating how everything would work, which is kind of where we knew like the kids club, for example, Jumeirah Circle was incredibly popular. The team that's led by our kids club manager, Amruta, amazing at what they do with the kids there. So the kids love it, right? And these are kids who have access to, you know, the best anywhere in the world. So our job is to really make
Pretty
sure.
spoiled, let's be honest.
Yeah, and our job is to make sure that they're
keep
looked
them
after.
happy, yeah.
Exactly.
We mentioned Marina, and I wanted to keep this till the end. I think I would not be exaggerating, but one of the best marinas in terms of the quality of the yachts parked at square meter in Dubai.
Yes.
How do guests feel about it, and what they can experience there?
I think that's a great question. So, and your point around the yachts is absolutely spot on. So as a guest, what you can enjoy is, if you wanted to go out, bearing in mind the hotel and also the residence is elevated. And what I mean by that is you look onto the marina. So you're not on the marina as you arrive into either the residences or the hotel of Marsa Al Arab. However, we have a list. We have 8 rooms and suites that are on what we call the promenade level. So this means you're on the same level, private area of the marina that other guests could not get access to, who are not staying in Marsa Al Arab. So you can actually physically look onto the yachts, almost like you can touch them. You then have an entrance.
Didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, very, very cool. You then have an entrance that can allow you to walk down the marina. And along the marina, you've got restaurants that, you've got cutfish, you've got salt, you've got Fields Cafe, which is built on sort of healthy eating. So if someone is really focused around healthy eating and just wants to get a healthy smoothie, and they want to walk, they can do that.
Squeezed grass and stuff.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. All that stuff. In fact, actually, my first coffee that was there, they said, "Would you like maple syrup in it?" And I said, "But that's unhealthy." No. Maple syrup is healthy for you. So I thought, okay,
it's natural.
It's natural. Yes. Yeah. So you have all of that. You've got Keef, which is an amazing coffee shop that's there as well too. Very popular with locals in Dubai. You've got just really some great things. We've got our yacht partner, which is called Benno. Where if you wanted to take a yacht and go out for the day, you could do that. They've got one yacht actually.
And butlers can help you.
Yeah, they can help with organizing all of that. We've got, again, guests who have come in who have taken, for example, we've got a yacht called the Santorini. It's just
I experienced it.
Yeah, you've experienced it, right? How cool was it?
It's huge.
It's huge, yeah. but it's the experience that's there is extraordinary when you go out. And Benno are a great partner, so they're working with us in terms of chartering private yachts if you want to do that. So you get a really great sense.
And it's in a walking distance from the hotel.
And it's walking distance. We're talking, and actually, even if you didn't walk, you could actually get a buggy, and we could drop you down, so you have to walk the minimum amount that you would need to. And it's the marina itself is incredibly cool, because as a guest of Jumeirah Marsa Al Arab, you can come down and you can walk and you can see it and go back to the hotel, or you can really sort of hang out there and just see kind of what is incredibly popular for locals. It's a really buzzing place at nighttime.
If we look at the marina, and this question I want to ask as a tourism professional, there are villas.
Yes.
You as a sales director, do you feel sorry that they're not part of the property that is available for the hotel guests?
I love that question, and I'm going to be honest with my answer. Yes, these villas.
Because I would say they would sell like a hot pies in Hungry Mine with the Hungry Miners.
And having gone through the villas before they were handed over to the owners, because they're privately owned, and arguably some of the most sought after villas in the entire Middle East.
I cannot even imagine what reselling price would be now.
They're beautiful, and they command a very beautiful price as well. But the villas are fantastic. And I think when I look at Marsa Al Arab and I think of everything that's within the resort, as a guest, it's down to choice, right? Our job as Jumeirah and of Marsa Al Arab is to give guests choice where they can stay and how they can then ultimately experience Jumeirah and Marsa Al Arab when they're in Dubai. So, the nice choice is, whilst we don't have a villa, I come back to, if you don't want to stay in the hotel, but you still want to feel like you can experience the hotel, I would say to you, look, next time you're back, Arthur, why don't we put you and the family in the residences? It's a 30-second buggy ride from the residences to the hotel. In the residences, you've got Commodore Club, which is our restaurant that I described earlier, that's overlooking the marina. Great for breakfast. Actually, probably one of the best breakfasts in all of Dubai.
Do the guests of the resident experience like the breakfast? They can use the breakfast, or
so they would
cook
have
themselves?
Actually, they've got a breakfast that's in the residences in Commodore Club. They can of course cook. There's private, these are some of the most gorgeous residences in the Middle East. So they could cook, of course, but most of our guests would probably say, look, I'll come down and I'll enjoy it.
Yeah, breakfast, at least something you don't want to
and Commodore Club breakfast, very different to the breakfast that we described in the hotel, is equally incredible. But the guests of the residences will have access to the main resort pool in the hotel. If they want to come and use the spa, of course, they can do that.
Do they get access to the whole territory of Jumeirah?
Exactly. So they'll have access to some of the facilities within the hotel. And separately, if they want to go and dine in one of the restaurants that's on the beach of the other hotels in Jumeirah, we can also bring them down to do that as well. So, we've got that experience. So whilst we don't have the villas, I look at it, we've got some incredible rooms and suites in the hotel that, depending on what you want to experience and maybe who you're traveling with, you'll have something there for you. And we can make sure that if you need, for example, out of connecting rooms, guaranteed at time of booking. Some people might want quiet and maybe a little bit more sort of setback from the hotel, but still beautiful views. It's Marsa Al Arab service. The team in the residences are exceptional. Exactly. So that you could stay there as well. So you've got, again, it comes down to choice and what you want to experience when you're in, Dubai and with Jumeirah. And at Marsa Al Arab, you've got really almost every imaginable choice, but I would love to have a villa.
I feel you. I mean, people are turning crazy on villas.
I know.
And I usually say, if you can get all of that experience in a hotel, stay in a hotel. Villas are a bit overpriced.
Yeah.
So, anything I missed asking about you?
Well, you probably want to know what's going on for the upcoming season.
Or
and
New
I think,
Year party.
And New Year. So we actually just finalized it now. So we've got an amazing program for festive. So this will start in December. There'll be things that will be built in. We've got these coffee cups, our little espresso cups that are here. And in the lobby
I think they're
lounge,
hand-painted, right?
And they're hand-painted by a designer called Nadine Kanso. So she's a celebrated jeweler and designer in Dubai, incredibly well-known and famous. We've collaborated with her to create these tea sets and coffee sets, but you feel this experience when you're in the lobby lounge. So during the festive period, you'll be able to sort of enjoy, this incredible, afternoon tea that will come out.
First New Year and festive
and
season
first New
for the
Year's,
hotel.
exactly. So I want
high season pressure test drive.
Yeah, and this is exactly it. And I think we're very ready for it. So the guests who have yet to book, we're saying Marsa right now has never felt and looked better at all. And we've done a lot of work even during the summer period to make sure that everything is ready for the guests when they start to come back in. So the festive is exciting. New Year's Eve, we've got a great program that will be built around Iliana with the rooftop as well. So you've got this experience in Iliana that will be second to none. Of course, Jumeirah, we put on a great fireworks display. There'll be great performances that will be hosted in Marsa Al Arab as well during that time. So all of that now is finalized and is available to be booked. So we only just did that last week. So my timing to be here with you, Arthur, is perfect. So very excited about that. And we mentioned dining. I have to say we've got one more restaurant coming. And this one is going to be super cool. Actually up on the 4th level of the hotel. And it's a panoramic terrace. It's a restaurant called Horizonte. So if anyone goes onto the website, you can have a look at it. It's there in English and Russian.
Website. Yeah, okay.
Super, super cool. So we're redesigning the space right now, and this will open in early 2026. So the cuisine that will be there will be a mix of sort of Eastern Mediterranean down to the Levant region. The chef that's been appointed to lead the kitchen there is an incredible decorated Michelin star chef. She's phenomenal. So I'm incredibly excited about Horizonte's opening. And naturally for next year, being that we're now coming up to the first sort of year of opening, there will be a lot of different things, experiential things that guests can enjoy that we're looking forward to sharing, including where in breakfast, there's the two kind of smaller areas that are there with tables. Yeah. These will be private chef's tables that can be booked
so
for...
you can arrange a private chef
you can.
Cooking especially for you and your family.
It's set for 6. I can promise you this is going to be worthy of potentially, dare I say it, even maybe a Michelin star. And,
yes,
now, and I want to just finish with this final thing. In November, we're going to sort of create and launch something which, in Dubai does brunches. They do them probably better than most places around the world. But we've created something really quite spectacular for Jumeirah Marsa Al Arab, and it will be in the 4. So imagine now having the 4, not just for breakfast, but something for brunch. And this will be great for couples, for families. So this will be a very, very different brunch experience than you've seen anywhere in Dubai coming on in November. So
our guests will probably see it firsthand.
They'll be able to see it and experience it.
So it's a huge change for your lunch experience, basically, on Sunday, for example. Yeah.
Exactly, yep. Saturday in the afternoon, so you're coming in. And again, for us, it's about making sure that we deliver the highest level of experience that guests can come to enjoy. So even coming back to suites, there'll be some things that we'll introduce for next year to even further elevate that experience within our suites.
So Summarizing things up, you're still in the process of shaping things up, and not in a bad way, but looking for a more and more better opportunities to deliver something exceptional, right?
Everything for us is about exceptional, and we want...
Probably there's a huge painting in the Jumeirah office. Everything is exceptional.
we have a saying where it's like, it's...
Or there's a pledge when you start your work.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to deliver exceptional experience.
Well, this is it. And actually, it's there. It's in my office, which overlooks the super yacht Marina. So I'm always reminded of spectacular and also extraordinary because they're there. But
Yaks
really...
are a pretty nice example of high-level service,
100%, yeah. And this is it. So we kind of say, look, guests are about to embark on a journey of the spectacular if they're looking for the extraordinary. And our job is to make sure that at every step of the way, regardless of season, regardless of how long ago we opened, which in this case is a little over 6 months, everything is considered to be not just amazing for Dubai or just amazing for the UAE. We want to be, for our guests, we want them to come in and be proud that they're staying in one of the top ultra luxury properties in the world.
Do your colleagues in Jumeirah Group feel jealous for you that you're running a new property, that you have a high demand, or jealous in terms of like it's easier for him, he has a new hotel, or it's just actually harder running a new property?
I think the colleagues within Jumeirah across the board have been incredibly supportive. And honestly, the success of Marsa to date can also be shared with them because it has been a collective effort from every level of the organization.
I know that because they were all involved. But in terms of things that you implement, like, do they feel like, okay, we should try this as well at our properties? Have you been headlining the approach?
Yeah, so there's a lot of that. And if you remember last year, we relaunched the Jumeirah brand.
Yep.
And, it's sort of built on pillars of warmth, generosity, and joy with dimensions that, some of those we discussed, like design by intent. Actually, the beautiful thing about Marsa is for Jumeirah is we can start to solidify our brand in a way that allows us to sort of
because
move
you were
forward.
the last to open, and so you had for you it was easier to implement.
Exactly, and as we do, we've got some really amazing stuff going on in each of our hotels, be it in Dubai or outside, and actually the pulling together the aligned version of our brand as we look ahead is incredible.
Do guests stay in two properties at one stay?
We see a lot of people move for dining, but not necessarily stay in one to come to another. And I think that's just more because guests just, once they're settled, you know what it's like. If you don't have to pack up, why would you?
I hate.
And
that's why I don't go to fun trips.
Exactly, yeah. You're told move every night, right?
Yes.
And we what we want for the guests who have been coming to Jumeirah, for a while, we want them to relax. We want them to continue to say, look, you've got amazing choice on our beach. So if you stayed in Jumeirah on the Seam, it's an amazing hotel. It has only gotten better with time. We want you to stay there. And maybe if you're thinking of, well, I've got to go out to dine, or I want to experience something new, you've got then the benefit of having the restaurants again of Marsa Al Arab. So I think our job really is about to complement the overall ecosystem of Jumeirah on the beach. So for guests coming back this winter, honestly, they should expect some of the best at Jumeirah Marsa Al Arab from an experience point of view, from a, just an overall feeling of, wow, they should really look forward to
I'm going to wait for end of the season when the year will pass and meet with you probably at ATM and say, like, so what's your return rate from Russia? Because I feel when I stay there, the Russians would love it. They were hungry for something new at the Jumeirah property.
Yeah, and they were, and actually, and I'm so flattered by it because every time I come to Russia and when I'm in Moscow now, like I am this week, I love being here. I think the energy is fantastic. I feel there's vibrancy. But when I look at what Marsa has gone through in the last 6 months, Russia CIS market, Russia specifically, has been such an early, embracer and lover of Jumeirah Marsa Al Arab. And I can have to just say, the trust and the loyalty and the respect that has come from Russia has been incredible. And all I can do is just say thank you to those that are watching and listening.
I think we've discussed everything.
Nothing left? No.
No, there's always things to discuss in terms of a professional way. What's your market percentage? Do it different. But we'll see it when the year will pass. Yes. I want to thank you, Мэттью. Дорогие друзья, у нас был Мэттью Роулетт. Это директор по продажам отеля Jumeirah Marsa Al Arab, и мы с ним поговорили об отеле, которому исполнилось вот уже полгода. Я надеюсь, когда вы будете смотреть, вы сможете увидеть все то, о чем мы сегодня говорили. Я сам останавливался в этом отеле, да, жил в номере с видом на Бурдж-эль-Араб, и, конечно, был там с детьми. И понравилось, честно скажу, понравилось и еда, понравился пляж. Уверен, что за прошедшие полгода отель проделал небольшую домашнюю работу, чтобы где-то улучшить ощущения гостей от того, как они там оставались. Но в остальном, честно, ожидания от этого отеля, наверное, оправдались. С вами был Артур Мурадян, «Космические путешествия». Подписывайтесь, смотрите. До новых встреч!